Well, friends, a few months ago, I attempted to do memory planning. That's scrapbooking within a planner. And I quickly figured out that there just wasn't enough space for me to tell my stories. So now I'm going back to tried and true Project Life, only this time using a different size. I'm going to tell you all about it next on the Victoria Marie YouTube channel. Welcome back to the Victoria Marie YouTube channel. I'm Victoria, and here I feature all things scrapbooking and crafting. If that's something you enjoy, stick around, make sure you subscribe, and click the bell. That way you'll be notified each and every time new content is posted. So a few months ago, I decided to try my hand at memory planning. I wanted an easy way where I can document and tell my everyday stories. And as you can see, I started out strong. I have at least one spread with photos and journaling. I also use stamps and a whole bunch of supplies that were just kind of hanging around in my stash. I didn't feel that I needed to buy anything new. And I had this undated planner hanging around in my stash too, and I thought, you know what, why not? But after the first spread, I quickly discovered that this format was not going to work for me. I need more space for storytelling, for photos, and to do a little bit more decorating. Then I discovered in my stash, I have this 9x12 linen album from Elle Edwards. It's one of my favorite colors, by the way, which is gray. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to do 12x12 Project Life or everyday story style scrapbooking, but I don't want something small either. And I think the size is going to work for me. And so I did a few spreads and I was hooked. It allows me to not only tell my story, but to also have a bunch of photos, and I can do some interactive things, all the fun design stuff that we like to do with Project Life. Now, as you can see, this album isn't necessarily filled with a bunch of weeks just yet. In fact, I skipped from week 1 to week 22 because there are some weeks in between and that I haven't actually documented any stories. But I decided that my process going forward is when I feel like documenting an everyday story, I'll pop it in this album. And when I don't, well, I won't. If I feel like going back and documenting some weeks prior, then I will. And if I don't, well, I won't. Because at the end of the day, these projects need to be relaxing. Scrapbooking shouldn't be stressful. So if there's a week that you just don't feel like documenting or life has gotten away from you, that's okay. Just whenever you're ready, just pick up with the current week that you're on or maybe a few weeks back, do a nice simple spread and keep it moving. We are not here to get stressed out about scrapbooking. So I decided that I'm going to be very selective with the stories that I want to put in here and really focus on the highlights of my week. So I'm going to move forward and work on week 27. Now, I did create a little planner sheet for myself. Now, this is not available because I'm still kind of testing it out to see how well it works for me. But I figured if I'm going to be doing this project, then I need a way to plan out my pages. So I created my own planner sheet. And if I like it and I decide to share it, then you guys will know. I also pulled some items from my stash from various manufacturers. So I have some stamps from Elle Studio, I have some stickers from Feed Your Craft, some Citrus Twist, just a few things out of my stash that I need to use that are great for this type of scrapbooking. Now, whenever I'm preparing a weekly spread, what I like to do is on a Sunday evening, I like to go back and do a review of my week and just really focus on the highlights. I'm not trying to scrapbook every single thing that happened during the week. And honestly, there's some weeks where not a lot of things are happening, and that's okay. Next, on Mondays, I like to print my photos and type up my journaling. And then on Tuesday, I'll pick all the embellishments that I want to use for the spread. And then I try to put this page together or put my pages together on Friday because I usually have a chunk of time on Friday devoted to just personal crafting. So for today's project, I'm working on week 27 and I do date the weeks by the number and that's okay. Even if I do skip some weeks, it doesn't bother me. I just like the process and the flow of that, but you certainly don't have to. Now, if documenting weekly stories is not your jam, you can certainly do this monthly. So you can do the highlights of January, the highlights of July, or maybe seasons, the highlight of spring, the highlight of winter. You can make this project as fluid and as flexible as you want to. Personally, I like to document my stories weekly. Now, since I've prepped in advance and have all the materials that I want in my journaling typed up, this page actually came together really quickly. In fact, it only took me maybe 20 minutes to put this page together. I typed my journaling in Microsoft Word and printed it on vellum using Hero Art's layering vellum. And I just cut out those boxes and I'm going to place them where I've designated my journaling to go. So the first photo is a picture of a BLT. I love BLT, sandwiches, bacon, lettuce, tomato, and I like to add a I like to add fried egg to my sandwiches along with Miracle Whip and pickles because I think that just steps it up a notch. I also have a photo of my daughter who is filling up some new oil containers that we purchased for our kitchen. We use olive oil and other oils quite a bit, and she was super excited because she is the little chef of the family. So I wanted to make sure I documented that. Some other week's adventures, we had some wonderful street tacos while we were running errands, and we are a family who loves tacos. My daughter and I took a moment on another day to have lunch together. We were craving burgers and milkshakes, and I like to document the times where we can sit and have a nice little conversation. And of course, documenting those ages and stages where it's different now that she's 12 versus when she was little. Our conversations have changed quite a bit. Then I also have another photo, which you'll see in a minute, of my daughter learning how to use our sewing machine. So those were the week's highlights. Not a whole lot went on, but those are stories that I definitely wanted to document about our everyday life. Now, as you can see, I have some pockets that, of course, have photos. There's a lot of journaling. That top pocket's going to be the title. I'm also using this 4x6 pocket here. I have a 4x6 card that I added a 3x4 photo to, along with journaling, and I have a spot there that I'm doing a little bit of layering, using a tag, which I also repeated that same tag element at the top with the title card, which you'll see in just a second. I also have some labels. That label says my everything, because she totally is my everything. I also have some fabric embellishments that are from Citrus Twist that have been hanging out in my stash. So that little tag that says weekend, that is a little fabric piece there. It adds a little texture. I also have these little arrows I'm trying to decide where I want to put. That top little die cut says crazy good because, of course, I love my BLTs, particularly with coffee or orange juice. That's the way I love to enjoy them. And if I'm feeling really fancy, then I'll make some hash browns to go with it as well. I also have another arrow that says this. And I'm trying to decide, do I want to use love, which is on that little fabric arrow, the yellow one, or the word this, which is on the blue arrow. I ultimately decide to use the word this. And so I'm going to adhere that right above my little tray of street tacos. There's a local mom and pop place that we love to go to get street tacos, and they're absolutely delicious. I found that I had these Feed Your Craft puffy stickers, and since my journaling is sort of written out more in list form, I decided instead to cover up the letters that I typed at the beginning of each journal entry with one of these numbered puffy stickers. So at the top, I'm starting with 1 and 2, and at the bottom, 3 and 4. And my intention was to number the photos so the journaling matched whatever photo I was referencing to, but I forgot. So that's okay. It's all right. That added just a little bit of more texture to it and kind of makes the journaling pop. I'm going to add a few more embellishments, but not a whole lot, because my process is to keep the journaling, or to keep the embellishing, I should say, pretty simple, and it helps me complete the pages quickly. So I'm going to add a couple of these puffy stars. I think that's from Citrus Twist. Then I'm going to work on the title that's going to be layered right there on the die cut. So I'm going to put 27 in the little circle die cut that I just attached to the tag, and I thought that would be a really cool, nice, interesting look. Once I have the number 27 attached, I'm using some sticker font, puffy fonts from the Paper Person shop. I'm going to grab some more stickers, again, from Paper Person shop. This is a new shop that's owned by Kelly Perky, if you are familiar with her. Her original brand was just Kelly Perky, and then she rebranded, and now she has a shop called Paper Person, and they do offer subscriptions and that type of thing. I love her products, and they're perfect for these type of projects. So I'm going to spell out week 27, and I added a little die cut to the side of that, and it's perfect. Next, I decided to add another one of these little hearts. There is a 3x4 pocket card that I'm going to add one to, and then I just wanted to add a tiny heart there to the title card, the 4x6 title card. I think I'm going to come back to that pocket card in here in just a second. Then I have two photos here. I'm going to create a photo flip up. Now, I found in my stash this metal die set from Elle Studio, and what it's designed to do is to create these fun little flip ups for your pocket pages, or just maybe even your scrapbook pages. So you'll have a spot for 3x4, either pocket cards or photos or whatever you want to use the flip up for. Now this die is a little bit longer than my platform for this die cutting machine. So I'm going to cut one part of it first, and then I'm going to shift the die down and then cut the other part, and that'll cut it out. Now you don't need this die to make a flip up. You can make one using washi tape or just cutting out some cardstock to roughly about 8x4 inches. And then you want to score it in the middle, and then you can use it as a flip up for your pocket pages. So I'm going to go ahead and fold that in the middle. It has a score line, and I'm just going to use a bone folder to reinforce that. I'm going to add a photo inside, and that's of our lunch that we ate at a burger shop that we went to. It's called Grub. And so I'm taking a picture of my burger, and my daughter's there in the background. And then the front picture is of she and I enjoying their yummy milkshakes. And that was just a nice little time to spend with her and for us to get out of the house. Since I work from home and she homeschools, a lot of times we're stuck in the house sometimes. So it's good to get out and about. Okay, so now I'm going to lay down a 3x4 pocket card just to add a little bit of interest on the inside, so when it flips up, there's something there. And I am going to embellish the inside of that pocket card. I'm going to trim off a little bit of excess of the cardstock there, and then I'm going to call that good. And what happens then is you can just slip the part of that right into your pocket, and then you have a nice little flip up. Again, you don't need this die to do this. You can just create one of your own manually, but that's a really great way to add additional photos to your pocket pages. Now I'm going to grab these labels. This is from the Paper Person, and this collection, a lot of the stuff that I'm using is at least a year old, so I've had it in my stash for a while. And I'm going to use not only the plain label, but I'm going to bring over a printed label from Citrus Twist that says You and Me, and I'm going to layer that and put that right in the middle of the card. Next, I'm going to add a puffy heart to that, just to finish out that little layered cluster, so there's a little bit of interest when that card is flipped up. Next, I decided to do some stamping. So I grabbed 3 stamp sets from my stash. I have a stamp set from Elle's Studio, one from Citrus Twist, or actually 2 from Citrus Twist. The 2 that I grabbed from Citrus Twist are food-themed stamps. And since there's a lot of foodie stories going on in this particular spread, I decided that would be great. So the first stamp that I want to use is from Citrus Twist, and it has a little taco, and I had to use this because, I mean, if you're going to eat street tacos, or any tacos rather, because I love all tacos, then if you have a food stamp that has a taco, you have to use it, right? That's the law. So I'm going to go ahead and use some scrap piece of paper as well as some black ink, and I'm going to stamp that taco. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fussy cut it out and add it to the card. But first, I want to add a little bit of stamping to the inside of my little flip up card here. So I grabbed a stamp that says So Happy, and that finishes out that nice little layered cluster there. Nice, simple, clean, very good look. Once that's done, I am going to fussy cut my little taco, and then I'm going to add it to the photo that's pictured there with my plate of street tacos. So I'm just grabbing some scissors, doing a little bit of fussy cutting. Now at this point, I wasn't sure if I want to color in that particular image. I decided to leave it black and white because I love the contrast, and it's going to look really nice. Just a small little tiny detail, right? Sometimes you just go for the details, and that's what I'm doing here. And of course, I wanted to use the stamp because I'm eating tacos, because why not? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere that little taco down and create that little cluster, and that turned out very cute. I have a few other spots that I want to do a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to grab this pocket card here that has a whole bunch of journaling on it. I'm going to add a little puffy heart to the bottom portion of the card just to add some interest there, because I felt it needed a little something else. And then on the side of the card, there's an entry for date and then an entry for place. And since I'm documenting multiple places, I just put a stamp that says around here. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the date. I'm using my Felicity Jane roller date stamp. And what I want to do is stamp the date for the beginning of the week and the end of the week. However, this stamp has the full date, including the year, and I didn't want to stamp the year. So what I'm going to do is just take some low-tack tape, and I'm going to cover up the year on the stamp. And then I'm only going to ink up the day of the week, and then I'll apply that to the card. I'm just testing it out to make sure that it looks the way that I want to. Sometimes I don't always get the date right on the roller date stamps because, of course, you're looking at it in the reverse. And so I want to make sure that I'm not, stamping like July 41. So that's important. Once I've done the first date, the first half of the week date, I'm going to go ahead and do the second half, repeating that step, covering up the year, inking up that roller date stamp, and then I'm going to remove the tape and then, of course, apply the stamp to my card. And at this point, I'm like, oh, I hope I line this up right, because sometimes I don't always do that and it's kind of wonky. I'm going to take a writing pen and just write the little dash mark in between, and then that card is done. I'm going to pop that right into the pocket. And I think that's the last bit of the stamping that I do. Yes, it is. So this week is complete. Again, I don't feel pressure to do every week. When I feel compelled to document my everyday stories, I do. And when I do, I like to keep it nice, clean, and simple. If I want to get real fancy with design, I will. But for the most part, it's going to be mainly photos and words with a little bit of embellishing. And I really, really like that process. And I love this size better, 9x12, a whole lot better than the memory planner, even better than the 6x8, at least for this project, because it gives me a little bit more room to play with. I think the important thing to remember about scrapbooking is that if a particular format or style isn't working for you, it's okay to let it go and adopt a style or format that does work for you and serves the purpose for your storytelling. Thanks so much for joining me today on the Victoria Marie YouTube channel. Before you head off, make sure you subscribe. When you do, click the bell. That way you'll be notified each and every time a new video is posted. I'll see you in the next one.